Good evening, YouTube. Welcome to another edition of the Ghostlight Social. So far, it's been going really well. Surprisingly, I'm more surprised. I'm the more surprised person. It's one of those things where lots and lots of people have this idea of like, oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other on YouTube, or I'm going to do this, that, and a lot of it, you know, you get past maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and people just get bored, and people haven't. They're still tuning in.
I thought you were saying you were surprised because we say we're going to do something, we sort of start it, and then we just can't be bothered to finish it.
It's an exciting day in the Hunter household.
Okay.
Well, it's not a big thing. I mean, under the current circumstances, it's quite exciting. We've all got brand new toothbrushes.
Okay. Well, that's something to celebrate. I've been thinking about getting one of those, those water flossers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm researching that at the moment.
Musician on Mitch Thompson, who it's the first time I'm talking to. It seems like a decent geezer, even though he supports Leeds United. And our second guest, he's got a CV as long as anything. It's Mr. Reece Dinsdale. Welcome, chaps, to Ghostlight Social.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Good evening, gents.
You okay?
Welcome. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Very well, thank you. Yes. How are we holding up in this current climate?
Yes, all right. Yeah, not too bad. Staying as busy as you can do, really.
I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay. Just doing stuff like everybody else, that you probably don't get done. You put to one side and all the rest of it. It's nice to see the family for a bit longer than you normally do as well. And then again, it's also not so nice sometimes. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to take an hour now. Okay, but no, it's really good. I mean, it's a terrible time, as we all know, and it feels there's some guilt attached, actually. I feel to enjoying it a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's like I'm sitting in the garden, and I've got a garden, and a lot of people don't have a garden or even a balcony or something, and I'm sitting out there, and I'm cutting the lawn, and I've got birds in the trees, and I'm thinking, hang about, this is quite idyllic in some ways, and you just feel bad because there's so much pain and so much grief going on as well, hand in glove with all this. So it's bittersweet.
Bought a blue male border collie. I don't know if you've seen photos, Lee, before.
Yeah.
I've shown you photos before. He's about 18 weeks old now, and he's growing really quickly. And we could only start taking him on walks about 3 weeks ago. It's nice walking him around. You've got like Savile Parkley next to where we live.
Yeah.
Walking around, can't take him too far, but we're walking around there, and you can see how eager he gets to play with the dogs, and you feel so bad for just not allowing him off his lead and going to play with them, but he's keeping us busy, to be fair.
How was the supermarket?
It was a little busier than I thought it might be. There was a customer and a guy doing the Sainsbury's worker doing the trolleys, and they were going to have a fight. The tempers were frayed, and I don't know what it was about. They were offering each other out. I thought, this is crazy. And I thought, I'm going to have to step in a minute. I thought, I can't step in. Social distancing and all the rest of it. It's bloody mad out there. You don't want to come over as kind of being virtuous and all the rest of it, but I was amazed. I came back and said to my wife, I said, people are extraordinary still. They just don't get it, and they are leaning across you.
When I first started to show an interest in acting and all that kind of stuff, my aunt told me this story of when I was like 1-2 years old, something like that. My Aunt Lorraine used to babysit quite a lot for me. And she said, one night, Mr. Reece Dinsdale came along and babysat.
Wow. What?
Yeah. And so
when was this?
So
where was this?
This will be in Pontefract, around about 1980.
Maybe sat in Pontefract in my life. What is she saying to you? I think I've only been to Pontefract about 4 times.
It's one of those stories which, when you're about 14, you're like, I know who that guy is. I've seen him on TV, and you're kind of like, that's really cool. And then when you get a bit older, you're like, I think she was playing me a little bit. So I wanted to set the record straight.
No, what I love.
I person say to my mum when I was at the height of doing Home to Roost. My mum said, "Why did you come up home last weekend and not tell us?" I went, "What?" She said, "Oh yeah, we bumped into these people in Casper. She said, you're going out with their daughter." I've been in London for 5 years. I've not been back to my mother's for in months and months. And people just come up with these stories. I'm not saying your auntie is making
Awesome.
but I know I have no recollection of being in Pontefract babysitting.
You must have many lookalikes around here, Reece.
That's it, mate.
I reckon what's happened in the 80s is there's been a few guys, kind of chancers, looked a little bit like you, who have sort of gone, met these girls.
This guy on Twitter who follows me, he's a really nice guy. He says he's lived for 30 years off looking like me. He calls his mates call him Reece.
Listen, you've got to work with what you've got. I think that's absolutely fine. I was sat next to my wife in the garden, and she went, "Oh, I did used to fancy you in home."
Nobody told me at the time. There's all these women saying, a certain age saying to me, "We fancied you in Home to Roost," this, that. Well, nobody told me. I'd done 5 years of being a professional actor by then, and everybody's shocked at my age now. And the reason is because when they were going to do this show, I got a call from my agent saying, "You want to do a sitcom?" And I was properly classically trained actor, and I go, "No, I don't do that. I'm not doing that." And as soon as they said it's with John Thor, a two-hander, I'm like, "Yeah, okay, we'll have a bit of that." They'd seen every 17-year-old kid played him opposite John, and nobody had the experience, because it's John Thor. You've got to go toe to toe with this guy. It's not just let's turn up and see if it works. It's got to work. It's got to have that spark. And the producer and the casting director were dragged along by the casting director to this play I was in at the Royal Court. They saw me, and luckily I was 25, looking 17. I did a screen test with John. We hit it off, just fantastically well. And on the very first day of rehearsals for it, I was 25. John was only 43, looking 10 years older. So the gap between me and John wasn't that enormous. Now, of course, I'm playing 17, I'm 25. The series runs for nearly 4.5 years. I'm 29 at the end, playing 18. I've only aged a year, and I still look bloody 18 in the thing. So now when I tell people how old I am, they go, "What?" And they don't know that those years have went by in a second. I just absolutely love live theatre. That if you were twisting my arm, whether it's directing, television, whether it's being on screen or on stage, I absolutely love stage work. And when people say, "You're back on telly at the moment," where have you been? Do you still act? I've been doing these great roles in the theatre, Richard III and all these things.
A song for the playlist. Yes.
This is not a song that I'm like, this is my kind of music or anything, but it's just what it means to me, really. It's Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel. It reminds me of home. It reminds me of home so much, and it reminds me of my dad, and it reminds me of my old mates back in Normanton, where I grew up. And unfortunately, my dad died last summer, and he was my biggest, best chum. We were brilliant mates. When I was away living in London for a quarter of a century, I was homesick for the lads and for my dad and things. And that line kills me. Sonny said, "Grab your things, I've come to take you home." And it just gets me every time I hear it.
Yeah.
It's one of those hauntingly beautiful songs. It's like that poem by A. Houseman, "Into my heart an air that kills from yon far country blows. What are those blue remembered hills? What farms, what spires are those? It is the land of lost content. I see it shining plain. The happy highways where I went and cannot come again." It's just like yearning and passion kills you.
Great.
That's the reason I chose.
Well, that's probably one of the best answers we've had. So that's definitely.
I can't follow that, Reece.
Just before you give us your song, just tell us about Glastonbury. How was that?
That was incredible. I think absolutely incredible. I was 18 at the time, and we just was in the band for about 18 months. We started getting a few support slots, doing some quite kind of prestigious shows. So about 8:30 in the morning, my brother comes running in saying, "Oh, have you seen his email?" And I'm like, "What are you about?" I never check emails anyway. And I look, and he said, "Oh no, check your phone." And we looked, and it was an email from BBC Introducing saying, "Oh, we'd like you to invite you to play the stage at the BBC introducing stage at Glastonbury. Yeah, is it like a scam or something like this? You know what I mean? So it was kind of a bit overwhelming at the time. Like, we'd never really done anything quite as big as that. So I was trying to keep it to myself for 6 weeks. And as you get more and more excited about something, as it gets closer, you kind of start saying, I think on social media we said, we've got some news coming. So everyone, you shouldn't really say that, because then people start...
did that classic thing. You did that classic thing, didn't you? I can't tell you at the moment, but there's some big news coming.
Exactly. You know, big announcement next month. You know, everyone's like, "Oh, what is it telling?" So then, you know, when you've had if you were your mates and you've had a few beers and stuff, they're like, "Oh, you want to tell us what it is then?" And we kind of whisper it to them, and then it just somehow starts spreading. You're like, "Damn, I shouldn't have told anyone that." The support around it was incredible. You know, the most exciting thing for us as well is that Steve Lamacq chose us. I mean, the way you kind of have the opportunity to get on is there's something on the BBC called the BBC Uploader. We were lucky enough to have someone who was really into us at the time working as a producer for BBC Introducing, and then he passed it on to the national producers, and obviously Steve Lamacq was one of them, which was quite mad, and he was the one who chose us to play it, and then he announced us as well, which was really exciting. He announced us for the show, and then the thing is that we only had a 25-minute set, so I can't remember any of it. The good thing was all the people at home and who supported us throughout the years could stream it live as well. For those that have followed us from day one, to see us kind of play such an incredible stage like that was pretty amazing.
I'm not a massive muso, right? Yeah. But I would describe that Glastonbury set as sort of would it sort of guitar heavy northern indie?
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Would that be fair?
Yeah, I'd say that's completely fair. I mean, we were heavily influenced by, you know, kind of raucous 50s and 60s rock and roll at the time. I mean, you can probably see in the video we've got kind of classic quiffs going on, and we're all kind of dressed in the blazers and stuff. So like, that's the perfect way to describe it. Really, it was just kind of almost we tried to achieve just creating catchy hooks, big guitar lines, and, you know, exciting songs you can dance to. Really.
But then I watched from a few years later a few songs that you did at the 360 Club, and I would describe that music that you were playing then as much more 80s.
It was.
It was a lot softer, very different.
So you say you're not a muso, Lee, but you know exactly what you're talking about, don't you? No, it was. I mean, the thing is, like any artist, you know, you develop and you always want to kind of improve your craft as you kind of, the more and more you progress. We didn't want to keep writing the same music because we didn't want to bore people. We wanted to kind of almost keep the same vibe going on, but just slowly developing and making sure people could see us do that. And I think it was 2015, and we got more into like 80s indie, like the Smiths and like the Lars and Suede. Well, Suede was more kind of early 90s, but we got more into the kind of like the more jangly guitar kind of stuff. I mean, Johnny Marr for me was, and probably still is, one of my favourite guitarists. He's innovative kind of guitar playing and technique, really. So that took quite a big influence on the new songs, really. And yeah.
Well, give us a song from the playlist, for the Isolation playlist.
Well, it might be controversial, this, because I've been massively into a lot of soundtrack and instrumental music recently. So I've gone with an Italian composer, I don't know if you've heard of him, called Ludovico Einaudi.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
And and he's got a piece called, have you heard of Petrichor?
Oh yeah.
And I had that for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I was just kind of in a trance. I was listening to it, and it's nice to have kind of soothing music that kind of takes you elsewhere, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And kind of relaxes you, and it takes a lot for me to kind of think, wow, I'm mind blown by this song. It's very minimal at the start. It's a really kind of nice, delicate kind of piano line. And then you've got kind of like your nice little kind of violin and strings coming in and out, and it's just so delicate. And then the slow kind of build just grips you, and you just kind of like you're hooked all the way through.
Very good.
That was very good for me.
Mike, this is getting too arty for my liking now.
Very cultured, this show, isn't it?
I'm thinking...
It's getting like the South Bank show.
Yeah,
this is not what I signed up for.
I'm getting really into it. And
Don't worry, I'll bring the tone down.
What's the most coronavirus thing you've done?
I haven't done anything drastically different to what I do on my day-to-day life, to be honest. Because I work at home, and, you know, I live at home. I mean, I have picked up the PS4 for the first time in about 10 years. And I was tempted to get my dad's Nintendo 64 out of the cupboard earlier, but I don't want to get addicted to gaming when this is all over, because I won't get anything done.
My daughter yesterday finally got me to play Mario Kart for the first time in about 9 years.
Yes.
So I was there doing exactly. And I'm
Mario
thinking as I'm doing it, this is a disaster because I'll never get off this. I bought 2 wheels because I can't do the little control or what it is she's got. You know, on the old ones, it used to be the wheels. So I've got 2 wheels getting the thing today. So yeah, that's mine as well. I'm afraid.
So you've ordered. They haven't arrived yet. You've ordered them since doing
I played with her yesterday. All right, I'm that old. I don't even know what it is. It's a Nintendo Switch, and the controls are like this big. Yeah. All right, and I'm trying to do the Mario Kart. So it used to be on the Wii or whatever. You get a wheel, and I'm like, and I was good. I was really good. I used to drop them off at school and come back and have half an hour at 9 o'clock. I am that bad. For so long I've been going, no. She got me to do it yesterday. I played 4 races with her or whatever it was. And then I went, I need a wheel. And I got on Amazon last night and it came this morning.
How many toilet rolls have you got in the house?
So yeah, I watched last week's show and I'm going to prepare for this. I want to count them, but I actually forgot to count them. Give me a rough
idea. I mean, you've got about 7 toilets, haven't you? So how many?
We've got one. We've got one actually. We've got one. We used to have an outdoor toilet because our house is quite an old house. I think it's over 100 years old, and he's actually an outdoor toilet, and it is still there. If I was on my phone, I'd go and show you, but. Even though it's not something you do.
You're all right.
You're fine. We can imagine. Yeah.
At the minute, about 10 rolls.
Reece, how are we doing for toilet roll? You've just been shopping, so presumably.
Well, actually, I didn't get toilet roll because as I was walking past the toilet rolls, I went, how many toilet rolls have we got? Do we need any more? And I thought about it. I thought, well, I think we've probably got a pack and a half of 6 and 3. So about 9, I think we've got. So we're doing okay. I think that's reasonable, isn't it?
That's reasonable.
Yeah, that's okay. Over 10 and it's pushing it.
Mike, how are we doing for toilet roll? Because you're up there as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you said we live together.
Oh, yeah, we don't.
Yeah, we don't live together. Yeah. It's not like an Eric and Ernie thing, although...
Not yet. Yeah. Our wives haven't chucked it out yet, but it's imminent. What's your vice?
It's Monday night and I'm on the Stella. My dad's beers, actually.
On the Stella?
No, it's on the Stella?
Stella?
I don't Stella, but my dad likes Stella, and these are his. We have on Friday, my mate hosts a quiz night on Saturday nights.
Okay.
So there's quite a few of us that do it. So that's usually quite a big session, really. as big as a quiz night in your own home can get.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I don't know units, but I've probably consumed about
a lot.
A lot, yeah. I mean, yeah. I move on to the gin, you say, afterwards, and that gets a bit dangerous. So, I turn into Shane McGowan, and then it all goes downhill from there.
Okay, fair enough.
Like Mitch, I wouldn't drink every night, but in this time, you just find yourself getting to a certain time and going, well, what else are we going to do? So it is a bit like that, isn't it? And it's just not the norm. But I've had a couple of glasses last night, I haven't had any yet. I'm on the water. But I might have a glass when I finish with this.
Yeah. But yeah. What were you working on as we got locked down?
I've been directing up to Christmas Emmerdale for the first time ever. New to me, new system, multi-camera, all that stuff, which is really great. I've been directing for 8 years, but single camera standalone drama stuff for BBC One, and thoroughly enjoying it. But there was a little opportunity that came to see if I could turn my hand to directing multi-camera. It's very different. It's like asking a geography teacher to do chemistry. You know, it really is a very strange thing. It's very much more exact. And you're working with 3 cameras at a time, and you're in a gallery calling the shots, and you've got a camera script. Whereas if you're making a single drama, it's your baby. You can do as little or as much as you like in terms of preparation. It's all in here. I can work with my DOP, and then we just create in the moment what we want. But it's all got to be planned with this. So I was invited to come and do it. I got a great friend who held my hand and taught me old school how to do it, because I thought, if we're going to do it properly. And I got a call from upstairs to go up at lunchtime to meet to see the exec producer and the producer, and I thought, oh my God, it's too late to sack me surely on the last day. So they sat me on the sofa, not a hard chair. And I thought, we're all right. I'm on the cards here now. So no, they were very kind, and they said, look, we loved what you've done. as a director. And one day, we'd like to ask you back. And I thought, that's not concrete enough. One day, you'd like to ask you back. She said, because in the meantime, we'd like to ask you to be in the show. And I would not gone into the building remotely to ask, to be in the show. It was to be a director of it. And I thought about it, and I spoke with my wife, and I just thought it's a really golden opportunity. Also, I mean, it'd been a while since I've been on screen because I've been doing a lot of theatre, a lot of directing, and so I thought it'd be nice to just put my face back on there and to get the acting boots back on again. I did a month before lockdown. I hadn't really got into my stride, but I have to say I'm very fortunate that I've got under the roof of the show before this all happened. Yeah. Because seriously, talk about actors and what's going to happen after this I think it's quite bleak. So at least I know I'm going back to finish a contract that was kind of on hold. I'm struck lucky, I know that, but I'm very happy as well. If that weren't the case, I was very happy to be in the show. I'm enjoying that.
Why do you think it's going to be bleak?
Theatres, when do they get back on their feet? Firstly, they plan seasons and they plan it well in advance and all that. And certain plays suit certain seasons. Winter shows, big musicals, whatever, Christmas, spring show, maybe a different thing entirely again. Their planning is all to cock. How do they reignite? How do they get back on board? What do they do it with? They can't do it with a big cast full of loads of actors. We're going to have to start small. It's all right, lockdown ending, but I don't think social distancing is going to end. And when I'm going to turn that to football, I'm one of those people, maybe a pessimist, but I can't see a sporting event happening in this country where there's a crowd until way past Christmas. This virus is not just going to magically go away. We've reduced it, we've leveled off, or we're hoping we have. We haven't all had it. It's concerts. How the hell are they going to do that? Pubs were the last thing to open. How do you have to have one pub, like only 10 people and sit in different corners. It's Square Chapel.
Square Chapel.
An art centre, it's theatre, and that's hit it's gone into administration. That's bitten the dust. Hopefully somebody can save that. But James Brining now leads Playhouse, a great mate, and I know from him, it's a massive problem. How do they get this big theatre back up and running? How do they programme for it? There's no point in any theatre if you can't put an audience in there.
No. And as far as football is concerned, then, we'll take the league title and promote.
I knew you'd say that.
No, I don't envy the people who have to decide how it's going to conclude, really.
Nobody's going to be happy.
No, I think that's right. And like you say, Reece, in terms of in terms of football games with crowds being resuming at some point. The new season starts in August, doesn't it? At the end of August, and it's like, realistically, how is the next season going to start?
And at post-Christmas, at some point, when it's safe and we get the nod, finish season. And yes, all those things I said about different teams, different clubs, tough. That's the way it's going to have to be.
Yeah.
And there's only 9 games.
And then you play 9 games, say from February into. You then have a good run up to the Euros because you've got no pressure. You could even play warm-ups as regional cups and things, couldn't you? You could have, say, in January, February, if it was safe then, to give them a pre-season, because they'll need a pre-season. Whenever they get the nod, you could have, say, a Yorkshire Cup. You could get Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, Barnsley, Leeds, Huddersfield, and all that, and have a little something that's competitive.
We'd leave it and then finish it off next year. Although I think that regional cup, that could lead to scenes from a certain film that you did.
We don't want that, do we? No, we don't want that.
You guys back in the studio, weren't you?
To cut a long story short, we actually haven't been in a band in terms of doing live shows for like about 18 months now. Before all this kind of started, we were kind of like writing a lot, rehearsing a lot, and we had that drive. We kind of like rekindled that drive to kind of go for it again. Aiming to come out around the end of summertime, to start booking shows and kind of putting releases out and stuff like that. It's very hard to say when we'll kind of come out. I had quite a few shows booked myself, and a lot of shows have been postponed or cancelled, haven't they? So I think it'll be a case of whenever it does come back, in terms of the industry, in terms of live shows, I think there'll be tons of shows and tours going on. People who do attend concerts and gigs, I think they'll be, at the minute, they'll be dying to see live shows. So in terms of like the effect it had on the industry, I think such a massive incentive to go see live shows and such a kind of, I think there'll be so much excitement around tours and shows and bands. Yeah, I think a lot of people will kind of like rekindle that love to attend live shows again, really. Promoters within the industry as well, I think a lot of promoters will suffer, for not putting on shows. Like we worked with a few promoters in Leeds and outside of Leeds and stuff like that, and they put on at least 50 shows a week. For them not to be able to do that now, it's going to be a massive, financially a massive hit to them.
Without those little theatres, Wakefield Theatre Royal, where I started, theatres like that, what happens to them? Because if they go, then that's a way into the industry gone.
Gone for people.
Yeah, massively, yeah. For us, when you're starting a band, it's these smaller promotion companies that give you the opportunity to play in front of an audience at the end of the day, and then for you to take that on to the next level. And it's like, if they can't survive, then it's going to be a massive hit to young bands, especially. We're trying to, at least get gigs, in the local area,
First, Reece, are you just taking a bit of a break? Are you, what are you doing?
I gave myself a little challenge. And you mentioned it briefly, but I've never been very confident, you might think otherwise, with myself in public situations like something like this, or even speaking live to an audience as myself. As you know, Lee, I'm on that Twitter thing, and I have a go, and it's gone a bit silly. But I thought in this time I'll try and embrace technology, and I'll talk to people, because we're all sat at home. And I thought, I've always thought I'm the most uninteresting person alive. But then I got to the ripe old age of 60 last summer, and I went, you know what? I do know a couple of things. I have been around the block a couple of times. Maybe I have got something to impart that might be helpful to people, might inform them, might cheer them up. This is the second call I've ever done on Skype. I understand Periscope, and I did a Zoom class with 20 actors last week, where we had a little chat about this, that, and the other. So I put myself out there, one, to get the demons off my back of things that I'm nervous of, and two, to just share something in this terrible time that you don't have to listen, but if you want to listen, I'm perfectly happy to share my experiences with people. So I've given myself a challenge. It might last another week, it might fall to bits, I might not enjoy it anymore, but you know what, so far so good. In the past, I would have gone, oh no, no, I have nothing to say, you don't want me, it's all one of those. So there we go, here we are, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I'm very grateful. I'm trying to do something with my time. My dad's kind of parting gift was to say to me, be you, son, do your thing and be proud. And so I decided at the age of 60, and now I'm a director of television as well as an actor, I thought, there's so many kids out there. When I was a kid growing up in Yorkshire, it was rare to go to drama school and all that, and I had nobody to tell me anything. And I thought, well, I can help these young kids out there. There's loads of working class kids trying to get into the industry, and it's very, very hard, very, very hard. I'm prepared to try and help them in whatever minuscule, minute way that I can, to just pass on some advice and information. It may be bollocks, but it's probably not.
It's definitely not.
There you go.
For the last 18 months, I've been doing something completely different to what I'm used to, and that's kind of writing a lot of instrumental and soundtrack music. Now I've been kind of recording all this kind of music, and I've not really done anything with it. So I thought, everyone's at home, everyone's kind of on social media and all that. Why not just put a piece out and see what reaction it gets? I put an instrumental piece out, and the reaction was completely, incredible. Like, people, it was nice for me to kind of get a lot of kind of feedback off people that weren't, my parents and my girlfriend. And it's almost like reassuring, kind of satisfying to know that, it's what you're producing and what you're making is, it's actually, half decent. I don't know if you guys know, but I teach lead guitar. That's what I do for a living. So I teach fairly part time.
He supports you.
Yeah. He takes up. So I do full time, 48 hours a week, just to
48 hours a week for 2 years would not improve me at the moment. Let me tell you, it really wouldn't.
When you do that, generally, before the lockdown, where were you doing that? At a college, a music college or something? Or
it's one-to-one tuition. So we'd had kind of inquiries for lessons over Skype in the past, and because we'd never really done it before, we kind of just brushed it off and thought, it's not really kind of, it wouldn't really be doable. But obviously, we kind of, we've got no choice now because. So, in the future, if we do get inquiries in terms of, can you teach online? It's like, well, yeah, we can now because we've got experience from it.
Just a standout moment for you in your career.
But I got to work for 2 days with David Bowie.
Oh. No.
Yeah. How about that? It was. I did read this just before. I thought, what went wow to me? And it was meeting David Bowie. Basically, I did a series in 1992. Me, Kevin McNally, terrific actor, Sue Johnson, absolutely brilliant. It was a Dick Clement, Ian LaFrenne series called Full Stretch. The guys who'd written Porridge and Likely Lads and all this. It's a different story with whoever got into the cab. But the kick-off episode. Dick and Ian, who lived in LA, knew David Bowie. He was a mate. And they said to David, will you come and be David Bowie in the very opening episode? I get the script. You want to do this job, Reece? Yes. And then it's David Bowie. And I'm thinking, what the hell? So when I got on set the very first day, the director, she said to me, we're going to take you into David's hotel room now to meet David. Because he was playing himself. I was actually the limo driver taken into a gig at Brixton somewhere and things. And I went in with the director into his room and he invited us, and he was so nice, but I was so nervous. And I didn't know what the hell to say. I really was gobsmacked with it. And as the day progressed and we did our first scene on the steps, and I'm looking in David Bowie's eyes and he's talking to me and he's talking, he's doing a bit of acting. In a limousine, me in the front seat, of course, him being David Bowie in the back, and in between takes me and him just idling away, chatting away, doing this, that, and the other.
Brilliant.
What a joy! And he was an absolute gentleman.
This is the man that thinks he's got nothing to tell anyone. He's got nothing to say.
I also had dinner one night with Van Morrison.
Oh no!
Pick that one off the floor.
Just
Yeah.
boom.
Being in Ken Branagh's Hamlet, and every star in the firmament came into that show every day. Me and Tim Spall were Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and it was Kate Winslet. It was Jack Lemmon. It was Charlton Heston. It was Billy Crystal. It was Robin Williams. It was Judi Dench. Every day. And it's just ridiculous. I'm from Normanton.
I got that on.
What's that about?
Ken Branagh's Hamlet. I remember they released the full 4-hour VHS, and I asked for it for Christmas, and I must have watched it one year, like near enough like every other day. It was like
brilliant,
beautiful, massive influence on me.
And so there are only 3 cinemas in the whole country that could show it. The screens needed to be, I mean, the film mags were massive on the back of the camera. This was in absolute wondrous Technicolor and whatever. It was a sumptuous feast on the eye, and all these, Jack Lemmon playing 5 lines, coming in and doing their thing. What a strange old business. I'm sure it's the same for you there. It's Mitch. It's as in your business, it'll be the same thing. We're just lucky people sometimes.
Yeah, massively. I might have to make up something now, Reece. I think.
About that time you went for drinks with Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. I mean, Glastonbury just stands up compared to do something like that as an 18-year-old. I mean, I was still learning the industry as well. We'd only been kind of a band for about not even 2 years. The people that we met as well. Like I remember, stood when we arrived to the stage, and we were sat in his van ready to load in the gear, and Fern Cotton just walked past, and then they were like, and then we played his show, then there were George Ezra just sat in the changing room next to us. I think I went for a wee one of the Portaloos and held open the door for George Ezra. And for me, that's one of the biggest.
You had me at Glastonbury. You need to say no more.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And I don't think you don't realise how big it was until you look back on it now. You're kind of riding that wave at the time, and you kind of might still a massive blur. But
thank you so much. It's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you, lads.
Absolute pleasure. Reece, go and enjoy a nice glass of wine. You've earned it.
I will do now. Yes, we've earned it, haven't we? Lovely talking to you all. Thank you.
Really lovely.
Oh, yeah, great to meet you guys. Yeah.
All right, lads. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you later,
guys.
Take care. Feel free to log off. We'll wrap the show up.
I've got to work that out yet. You boys go. Take care, lads.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
later.
Put the flat down.
That was
Great show.
Yeah.
Really good. Remember to subscribe, to like, to press the bell, all the rest of it. We've got a fantastic show coming up on Wednesday when we've got Kelly Condron, that you will know from Hollyoaks, from a time she was one of the original cast members there. And we've got actor-musician Rebecca Lindley joining us as well. That's 8 o'clock on Wednesday. But that was so lovely. So great. I was really looking forward to that one, and it didn't disappoint.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, Reese is somebody who, as Yorkshire actors, you're always kind of in the shadow of, because he's done so much and came from exactly the same background as we all did. They're fighting the corner for Yorkshire actor and Yorkshire creatives and stuff. So it's one of those moments in it. Like, that's my career highlight. Do you know what I mean? That's... Yeah.
So on Wednesday, we have Kelly Condron coming on, one of the original cast members of Hollyoaks. She's also an acting tutor. She's a voice-over artist these days.
You've got to look at her Twitter for the lockdown mum stuff, which is brilliant.
We also have Rebecca Lindley coming on, who is an actor, musician, fantastic singer. And we'll hopefully see everybody on Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock. Give us a like, subscribe, press the bell, all the rest of it.
Adios from the bunker.